Welcome to the Assignment Podcast, a place where you will receive food for your mind, water for your soul, and healing for your body. With your host, Ronnie Dior. Good evening. Tonight, we will be discussing the topic, looking for love in all the wrong places. We will dig into setting boundaries, preparing for Mr. or Mrs. Right for me, getting your house in order for what you want, and how to stop trauma dating. So grab a pen and a friend and listen to Ronnie Dior as she explains what do you do when you are ready to date again, but you continue to look for love in all the wrong places. Let's get into it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you know anything about me, by this time, you should know that I give it to you straight up, no chaser. So that is what you can prepare yourself for this episode and any other episodes that are to come. Now, in my previous show, I talked about healing before you seek another relationship. Because if you're bringing a fractured piece of yourself into someone else's life, expecting for them to heal you, that is completely unfair. That's unfair to you. That's unfair to them. You deserve a whole person just like they deserve a whole person. So, starting a relationship, looking for it to fill a void is mistake number one. That is how you continue looking for love in all of the wrong places. You cannot look to someone to complete you, to fix your brokenness, fill the void that was created by an absentee partner or a failed lover. That is what I like to call trauma dating. Picture this. A young girl grows up without a father due to either his own neglect, or maybe he passed away, or, a number of things happen to where he is not involved in that young lady's life. Although she has an uncle, maybe a ton of brothers, godfather, maybe even a stepfather has even come into the picture. But she never seeks out that father-daughter relationship with them. Why? Because she doesn't even understand that she even needs that's even a missing component in her life. So she interacts with them on their level. So she interacts with her brothers, not somebody that she look up to and try to get fatherly, guidance or advice from, but as a brother-sister relationship. She doesn't go to her uncle like that, as an uncle and niece relationship, or a godfather and a godchild. Just those different things. She sees them on that particular level and not even understanding the magnitude of trying to get that fatherly wisdom and fatherly guidance from, right? The lack of creating that relationship with her own father or a father figure will create a void within her. And she won't even be aware that void is even present until it shows up later in how she deals with men in the future. See, the lack of that father in her life didn't even show up as detrimental until she begins dating. Ironically enough, right? Why is that? Because how a woman perceives a man or what she needs from that man becomes an extension of what she needed from her father. She's now expecting those same needs from the man that she's dating. Her inability to separate those two qualities and two characteristics is like a blurred line. She's expecting everything that she did not get from the one man that was supposed to ensure that she got it, from her husband, from her potential mate, from her boyfriend. Now, it's okay for a woman to desire a man with husband and fatherly attributes like her father. I mean, that's normal. That's what we do. We want a man like our father, and guys, they want women like their mothers. But her father is the role model for who she would date. That mother is the role model or the epitome of the image of what he would date. Ask any man. He would tell you that as a father, it is vital as one of his many tasks or responsibilities to his daughter is to show her what it is to have a man in her life, how a man is supposed to treat her. He is that model. He models that behavior through his interactions with her mother and through his interactions with her. This is why fathers take their daughters out on dates to nice restaurants. So when she goes and she starts dating, she already has a certain taste, an exquisite taste, where taking her to just some low budget thing is not going to be enough to satisfy her. This is why fathers love on their daughter and tell them they're beautiful. So the first time they hear it won't come from a man and she feels like, oh, he's the one for me because he finally told me I look beautiful, because I've never heard it before. This is why fathers buy their daughters flowers. This is why fathers do things for their daughters on Valentine's Day. Because she needs to understand what a healthy man looks like in her life. He is that role model. He is the model for that behavior. And then he also schools her on the game and helps her understand her worth. Now, imagine that same girl who doesn't have that father figure in her life. She now has all that knowledge and wisdom missing. And at best, attempted to be given to her by her mother or other men in her life, but not her father. And unfortunately, for most, there still remains a void and a subconscious attempt to fulfill that void through the men they date. Now, begin dating. You begin dating, but you're dating men that are not good for you, but yet you feel attached to them because you are dating his potential and not what he's actually showing you. See, Maya Angelou said it best, and I love it. I love her for it. She said, when people show you who they are, believe them. But not us as women. We're nurturers at heart. Okay? That's our makeup. So we want to help. We want to mold. We want to believe in who you could be, not realizing that who you are right now is who you are going to be. Or at the very least, who you may aspire to be or desire to be. That is only based on that man desiring to be that new person, not you desiring it for him. But we feel like we can wish them into the place where we want them to be. We can hope they have some of the qualities we want, and we can mold the rest. We can make the rest. We can desire the rest. We can nag them enough to say, hey, become like this, and that it will happen. But it won't. And in this particular situation, that neglect of your father's presence in your life and the fact that you've never addressed it or unpacked it has started to show up in your relationships and need for someone to fill that void. You didn't have that man in your life to show you what a healthy man in your life looks like. That you don't change the man. That if he doesn't already come with X, Y, and Z, then you accept him for what he is coming with. And if that's not good enough, then you gracefully decline. You don't have to accept the invitation. You miss those components because of the neglect of the father in your life that's teaching you that, right? So there's trauma attached to the fact that your father wasn't there. That's traumatic for you growing up because of the different things that you've been through, the different things you was exposed to, the things that you lacked, that emotional attachment that you didn't have, those vital teachers and those vital lessons, those things that were important and very much necessary And not to mention the negative thoughts now that have come into place about yourself because of him not being there. That's all traumatic. And now, instead of dating a man based on healthy relationship needs and desires, you begin dating this man to replace past hurts, disappointments, and that feeling of being unwanted. So you have now entered into a relationship with expectations that he will validate you, that he will prove that you are wanted, that he would prove that you are worth it. Because in your mind, your father not being around meant that he didn't want you and that you weren't worth him trying to get back with your mother. That the reason why the relationship ended was because you wasn't enough to drive him to want to stay. When in reality, addressing that hurt, those thoughts, and the lies that became your truth, and learning forgiveness of whatever he did or didn't do was really what you needed. Now, that journey is a hard journey. That unpacking and then addressing and dealing with and forgiving, that journey is hard. I would not tell you otherwise, because if I did, it would be a bold-faced lie. But I will tell you this. It is very much worth your peace of mind and healthy relationship goals to live a life where you have not unpacked and addressed those past hurts and pains that are really trauma for you. It will do you a disservice the rest of your life. You won't live in peace. You'll be tormented. You'll have a fractured heart. You would think you have a wholeness, but you really don't. Because you have to deal with it. You have to get past it. And the only way you can get past it is to face it head on and see how it's really impacted you, where it's really coming from, how it's really pouring into other areas of your life, and deal with it. Take the time to deal with it. Like I said in the previous episode, when you're dealing with healing, it is not going to be a quick and easy and done situation. This may sting a little. And no, I don't know how long it may sting. But I do know it's not going to last if you address it. What's going to last is when you don't address it. When you do not address something, that is going to last, because it's always going to be playing in the background. It's always going to be playing in the background. But once you draw attention to it and deal with it, it'll stop playing in the background, and then you'll be able to move into that healthy relationship. So that's a hard journey, but it's very much worth your peace of mind and a healthy relationship. Because think about this in the other way. If your father has made promise to you that he couldn't keep, if he's abused you, your mother, or your family members, if he's lied to you and can never be trusted, if he just plain old wasn't there, that is what you learn about a man. That is what you think men are supposed to do and be. That has become your norm. That has become your expectation of relationship. Whatever you saw or didn't see your father do or not do. And as you begin dating, you either will seek a man who is the complete opposite, or so you hope, or a man that is just like him. And it's not that you want a man just like him if he was an unhealthy man. Although that is the model that you were shown. And we do as we see, not as we're told. See, modeling is everything. You can tell me all day X, Y, and Z, but when you show me TUW, I'm going to do TUW. Okay? It's not that we want a man like that, but it's all we've been shown. So subconsciously, you begin dating men with those very same attributes. You're pouring salt in an open wound. A player type, a bad boy, a charmer, someone that's not even on your level. See, this is when you watch your mom date multiple men who not even on the caliber of who she is or what she's looking for. So they're always taking advantage of her or always pulling her down. Yet you learn to do the same thing. That's why it's important when you date now with children looking at you and they're watching you, it's be careful who you bringing around them, because they're watching that and they're learning from it. They're learning how you interact with your own husband, your own wife. They're learning how to date and how to love from watching you do it. A non-provider, an abuser. These men represent lies. They represent not being able to trust. They say all the right things but can't back them up. They lack honesty. They're breaking promises on a regular. They're gaslighting you all the time, making you feel good for the moment and then make it your responsibility to sustain the relationship when they have caused the infraction. If you leave, you giving up too fast. And of course, you don't want to leave because you finally have that relationship with the man that you've been searching for, although it's not actually the man that you desire, because you don't even know how to desire a healthy man. It's just simply a relationship with a man finally. Finally having a man in my life that's going to be sustainable. Happy or not. That is a cycle of trauma. That is continually pouring into something that has been hurting you for years. That is continuing to allow the door to be open to an area that's of pain. That is continuing to insert things that are harmful to you without you even realizing that that is exactly what you are doing, because it's all that you know. That is a cycle of trauma. And that is what cycle of trauma dating is. Following behind the cycle of trauma that you learned about relationships. Trauma is an occurrence of a situation that caused pain, negative emotion, a lasting mental, physical, or emotional scar that is detrimental to you and continues to impact your future and all your interactions until it is properly addressed. Webster says that trauma is an emotional upset, an agent, force, or mechanism that causes trauma or behavioral state resulting from severe mental or emotional stress or physical injury. Sounds like our definitions are the same. Sounds like that fatherless scenario that I just described, that motherless scenario that you have, fits the bill. A cycle, a continual force, a continual mechanism, something that's operating a structure, behavioral patterns. The impact of not having your father in your learning, growing, and most impressionable years, or having an unhealthy father present during that time, will and can impact how you date until you unpack it. Unpacking is identifying where the root started. The roadmap, should we say, or how I like to call it, the roadmap to your issues. What led you here? It all comes from somewhere. Where was your starting point? This is your ending point. This is not your final destination, but this is where you are right now. You know, on the map where it has the star and says you are here, or your car is parked here. Your car is parked here. But where did you come from? You are here, but where did you come from? Because if you don't want to continue on this same route, you need to figure out how you're going to reroute yourself. And the only way you can reroute yourself is to unpack from whence you came. You cannot move forward in another direction, hoping that you're on a different highway. And then you look down and realize you're on the same highway that has gotten you here. In order to switch highways, in order to switch lanes, in order to move forward in a healthy mode, you have to unpack where the unhealthy even started. So you can pluck it, uproot it, dig it out. I want that thing removed. Hello, somebody. Get a shovel and get the digging. We ain't chopping nothing down, because when you chop it down, that just seeks it from being seen on the surface, but there's still something underground that's going to reconnect and build that thing right on back up, and you're still going to be connected to that same unhealthy way. I need a shovel so we can go digging, and we're going to uproot all of that and replant. So identify your roadmap. Identify your roadmap. Now, personally, I have to do the same thing. I did it a couple years ago because I got to a point where I was like, hold on a minute. Okay? Hold on a second. Every relationship I've been in has been unhealthy. What is going on? Because, for a second there, you get to asking, what's wrong with me? Right? Because you're the common denominator. Something keeps going wrong in this area. And guess what? I told you I like to give it to you straight up, no chasers. Sometimes it is you. Most of the times it is. How is it you? Because there's something you haven't unpacked. There is something that your void is seeking. There is something that you are trying to connect with, but all the while is something that's not good for you. And so you keep linking up with these unhealthy people, unhealthy relationships. You can't even see healthy things and desire healthy things because you still have unhealthy expectations inside of you. So I'm sorry to tell you, but it is you. It is you. The thing about it, though, it won't be you for long. Hello, somebody. Okay? It won't be you for long as as you do your roadmap. I had to identify my roadmap, and it led me straight to my fatherless years. And it made sense. It made perfect sense. Subconsciously, I was seeking validation in my relationships due to lies I had told and believed that explained why my mom and dad were not together. I never knew nothing about their relationship, didn't know nothing about it. All I saw, they weren't together. Me and my mama, single parent. He around, he not around. He around, he not around. Or then he not around, but I'm with him. You know how y'all do, how y'all share custody, And then him being back around. And then being taken from me because, he was taken from me by a senseless act, murdered. And so then I had to spend the rest of my years, because I was a teenager, I was still young. I was at the beginning stages of starting to understand even what dating and what all even that even entails and looks like and how a man's supposed to be in your life. There was no comeback at that point because now he's gone off the face of the earth. So I was a casualty. To whatever was going on with them. I was a casualty. Because as much as they tried to balance out, you have her for the summer, have her for this week, or you're doing this or you're doing that, whatever the case may be, it wasn't consistent and it wasn't all the time. It wasn't those intentional moments where when I'm with you, I'm not trying to have these deep, long conversations. I'm just trying to enjoy you, right? I'm just trying to enjoy my time with you. So the deep, long conversations that we would normally have on a regular basis, because you're just in the house with me and we watching TV and something comes up on the TV. And so then you have the conversation with me because you know what? This makes sense for me to talk to you about it. Or, you know what? Let's go on a ride and have this conversation. Or you know what? We outside playing and I'm teaching you this, I'm teaching you that. No, that is kind of missed because when I do have you, I'm just trying to spend time with you, doing things and making memories, right? And there's no harm, no foul for those who are out there trying to figure this thing out because you're trying, right? Just remember to have these conversations because they're everything, right? I was a casualty. So growing up without him and never dealing with that or unpacking how it hurt me emotionally, mentally, and eventually romantically cost me years of traumatic dating. I kept dating men who would hurt me, who would leave, who didn't respect me, who weren't good for me. end up leaving more scars than I started with. Not because it was their responsibility to do anything on my behalf, but because I didn't know what I needed. I didn't understand my worth. I didn't know what I deserved or what a healthy relationship looked like. Because to me, what was expected was for you not to be together, was there to be a regular in and out, was there to be arguments. I felt like if you argued, you shouldn't be together. And understand this, ladies and gentlemen with children, they need to see you disagree, and they need to see how you communicate and fix it and make it right. They need to see that, because to grow up in a household where you never see them argue, which I never saw it in front of my face. They never did it in front of my face. I heard it, but I never saw it. I thought that arguments don't exist in relationships. If you argued, that means you guys didn't like each other and y'all didn't belong together. So this is why I say it's important for them to see a disagreement and how you handle it, because you're teaching them that they happen. But this is how you communicate. This is how you properly address that. This is how you work through that. This is how you respect each other while yet disagreeing. This is not name calling and dragging you down the stairs. And now we got domestic violence that I'm not. No. Nor did I have that in my home. I just had to regularly, how y'all try to go in another room and close the door like that's going to all of a sudden make the walls thicker. That's what I had. But some people out here experiencing domestic violence in the house. Some people out here experiencing their mother getting called out their name, their father being called out their name. Some people are experiencing some real live knockout drags. And that's what they're learning a relationship looks like. That's what they're learning. That's the love they're going to be looking for in the place of an abuser, in the place of someone who's controlling, in the place. That's the love they're going to be looking for. That's why we're looking for love in all the wrong places, because of what we were taught it looks like in our dealings early in life. And we have to unpack that. We have to address that. We have to get real with ourselves of what that really was for us growing up. Because what would happen? The void of that relationship, or the learning of that unhealthy relationship, the void of a healthy relationship, it will incite years of trying to fill a void. Dating out of pain and hurt and loneliness. It happens with men too. Without their mother's input in their life, or a healthy version of what a woman looks like. However, for them, it shows up different. They either learn not to trust women at all and only view them as a right now companion, or they struggle with what they want in a relationship because they don't really know what it looks like, because what they've seen was their father get emasculated. So I don't even know what I should look for in a woman that would make me not feel less than. Imagine a boy being raised in a house where the mother emasculates his father. She runs everything and tells him he can't do this, and just really destroying this man, right? You ain't this, you ain't that, all these things. You're going to be just like your father. He wasn't nothing. You ain't going to be, just growing up with that. Now, what is he left to think now? How is he going to go out in there? How did you prepare him to go out and be a husband to somebody else? This is how you prepared him for that. All you did was basically teach him that when he's looking for a woman, either A, don't even look for one. Go ahead and wrap that up. Go ahead and hang that up, bruh. She ain't, nope. If it's going to be anything like her, because she is the model of what I'm looking for in a woman, hang it up, because I don't want that. Or let her run over you, be henpecked, or be controlling and abusive, because ain't no woman finna run me like she ran my daddy. So let me take it up a notch and be controlling. Or I'll just be a player for life and never actually pursue a woman down that marital role or that serious relationship role. Even though I really want that, I'm going to make it off to her that I don't. Or I'm a confuser and gaslighter and say that I don't want it, but then act like I do. Haha. Hello. Or tell her that I want it and act like I don't. Because just as confusing I'm being to her, I'm also confused internally. Because I know I want it. I just don't know what it looks like. Men go through that too. Men watch too. And men have this. And now this is what's being presented to women. So this is the man you're going to present. Got to be careful. We have to be careful about the trauma from early years. Another casualty of a roadmap that leads to trauma dating. Remember, the early years are the most impressionable. And if you want to avoid it, take inventory of your dating life right now. When you finish listening to this episode, check your roadmap and see where it's leading you. Unpacking is very hard. It's very hard, but it's so necessary if you want to stop looking for love in all the wrong places because you're trying to fill a void. Now, don't get me wrong. Not all trauma dating begins with your parents. Some people, their parents my parents are amazing. They are healthy in a relationship, but yet I keep dating the wrong man. I keep dating the wrong woman. Something still ain't right. Because some of those roadmaps begin with that first bad relationship that you haven't healed from. Back in high school, back in junior high school, back with the person that abused you when you were young, sexually, back with the person that mentally abused you, back with the emotional scarring where someone withdrew their love for you. And so every time they encountered you, it's with hate. Doesn't have to be your parent. But it's back to that first relationship. Back to the first negative thought that you had about yourself and your self-worth. Or maybe your roadmap leads back to that first miscarriage. And the fact that you had to deal with that grief and that loss by yourself. And you never got over it. Do the work and complete the roadmap. Now, that's just the first part of it. The second thing I want you to consider when you want to stop looking for love in all the wrong places. After you identified your roadmap, consider what boundaries you have and expectations you have. So you say you're not trauma dating. You've moved beyond that point. You figured it out and you did your roadmap. And now I'm no longer trauma dating. Got you. Good. But you still find yourself looking for love in all the wrong places because everyone you meet, they just not what's up. Can I ask you a few questions? And I really want you to consider them. What is your love language? Do you know? Do you know what your needs are? Do you know what you need in a mate? Do you know what you bring to the table? Do you know the characteristics of a healthy relationship? Do you know that disagreements and communication skills dwell within a healthy relationship? Have you accepted yourself and all of your flaws? Do you know what it means to be equally yoked? And if you are, do you keep hooking up with your old flame or old faithful or tonight's jump off, but call yourself looking for stability? I ask you these questions because they're important. They are. They're important when you are at the point of healthy dating. Because the first thing you have to address is you. Are you ready? That means identifying what you are looking for, what you desire in a mate, not based on what you didn't get from times past, but what you actually believe is healthy for you in your forever with whomever. Knowing if you've prepared yourself for what that looks like. It's like I want the job, but I'm not prepared for the interview. It's like I want the job, but I don't have the qualifications. Hello. If you want something, you have to prepare yourself to even be able to obtain it. Attain it. Obtain and attain. Be able to get it. Be able to have it. Be able to make it yours. You fit the bill. And some of us got to be real with ourselves. We're just not ready. We're not ready to be in a committed relationship with somebody. We ain't done doing X, Y, and Z yet. We're not done fulfilling this yet. We're still trying to figure this out. We're still trying to get to this place. We're still working on ourselves. And it is so okay. It is so okay not to be at that place. But what's not okay is to pretend like you are and you're not. Because now you're damaging and potentially hurting someone else who is ready. And you're hurting yourself. Because now you're going to be in another relationship that doesn't work out. It's going to pour more salt at that open wound. Okay, let's end this spiral and be real with ourselves. We're not ready. We're not prepared. My question is, have you identified what you bring to the table by preparing yourself? What are you bringing to the table? Do not ask for a dime piece, but you over here looking like a nickel. Don't do that. Okay, don't do it. Don't look for somebody who got it together and you struggling. Don't look for somebody that's above and beyond and you, no, don't do that. Don't do that to them and don't do that to yourself unless you embrace the nickel that you are. And you know you a nickel and you're like, look, this is what you're going to get. And your mate is looking for exactly that. He's looking for exactly you because you are true to who you are. If you are working on becoming a dime, then don't look for a dime yet until you become a dime. But if you want a dime and you a nickel and you proud of your nickel, then you get a dime that's looking for a nickel then. You don't get no dime that's looking for a dime and you posing as a dime, but you know deep down inside you ain't nothing but a nickel. Okay, I need y'all to catch me on this one. Because I've seen it all too many times. There's nothing worse than a person who is reaching out of their reach and then pretends to be something that they can't maintain. Because the truth is going to come out eventually. Do not set the bar, but then you can't even reach it. And then pretend that you can reach it to get the other person. Because a lie is hard to maintain. You could pretend you interested in this. You could pretend you love this and you excited about this. And this is something that you about too. And that's something you have interest in too. But then when y'all get together and you realize they for really have an interest in that and they serious about this thing. And this is the things that they actually do on a day to day. And then you start slacking. That means that's not really who you are. That's not really your passion. That's really not your drive. That's really not in you. You can say that up front. Because that may not be a deal breaker. But don't fake the funk to try to get the person. And then you can't maintain the lie that you done told. Don't do that. Don't do that. Be confident in who you are. Love who you are. Love who you are becoming. Love the place that you are in life right now. Love you and all of your flaws. Because it's confidence and self-esteem that speaks to people if you really want to know what's up. That's what they see. They see that you're a confident man, a confident woman. You have self-esteem. You value yourself. You're not willing to take down. You respect yourself, so you won't allow anyone to disrespect you. That speaks volume. So then you have to embrace that about yourself. You have to have that about yourself. It's being prepared to be that woman that he is looking for and for you to be the man that she is seeking after. So I have a few questions about preparation. Women, are you the type to speak ill against your own house and let everybody in your business? Are you the type that knows how to take care of her family, whatever that looks like for you? Do you take care? Are you nurturing? Are you loving? Are you giving? Or are you never there, present, absent, still out here trying to do X, Y, and Z? And you got a whole house that needs your love and affection and time and attention. Do you know how to support and love on your man? Do you know how to let him lead as long as you can follow a man with a mission for the family and respect for you? Now, I said something right there. Do not follow behind a man. How could I put this? When I was younger, my pastor from Illinois, he said it plain as day, and it was great. It was good. It was good for my soul, and I hope it blesses you. He was describing what submission meant. And he said that when you submit, when there is submission involved, that is because the man is the lead. If you don't want to get with it, that just means that's not where you are. Okay. But in Christianity, in your belief in Christ, and to me, Christianity is a religion for most, but for me, it is, I have a belief in Christ and I want to follow his principles as best as I can. Lord, help me. And it's God, man, wife, family, period. Like it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? If you have a man that's following Christ, that means he loves you, he supports you, he respects you, because God ain't about all that controlling and some more stuff. Then there's no issue with that latter. It's only an issue when that man is not following like Christ. He's not trying to lead you. He's trying to be ruler over you, and he's trying to control you, and he's trying to abuse you. He's trying to, no. So he made it clear as day. He said, look here. When you are submitting, when you're practicing submission, that is when you're coming under the mission that man has for the family. So you need to know what his mission is. You need to know what his thoughts are. You need to know where he's going, where he's trying to lead, and his plans. Now, if y'all don't want to accord with that, you can come under that mission. You will let him lead because you respect the mission that he has for the family, and he also respects you. Do you agree? Do you agree with him? Do you try to understand compromise, or are you arguing and nagging all the time? Do you uplift and love unconditionally? Men, do you know how to love your woman like you love yourself? Because that's what the word says. It says, men, love your wife as you love yourself. And you're not going to inflict harm and pain on yourself, but don't do it to her. Can you treat her better than you would want for your own self, men? Can you respect your woman by not entertaining looks and conversations from that single woman or that unhappily married woman? Or is the need for attention more important? Do either of you know what it means to sacrifice and compromise? And when to sacrifice and compromise? Or have you the manipulative behavior type? So healthy dating, it begins with a healthy you and knowing if you are ready to be that to someone else. Love on yourself. Set expectations for yourself. Feed yourself. Appreciate yourself. Understand your needs and your love language. Know how you like to be treated. Practice self-care regularly, so it's already an understanding when they get involved with you, and not something that you have to incorporate later. Now, if you feel, missed out on that part and you have to reintroduce it, okay, cool. But if you're not united with somebody, that's what you practice it now. Put it in your singlehood, in your singleness. Be true to you. Figure out if you want marriage or just a life partner. That's important. Because you don't want to give somebody you want to be married and they don't. If you want kids or not, that's important. The older you get, they may say, you know what, I'm good. And you may be like, no, I still want some. Or they may be like, I already have one. And you're like, well, I have none. You need to know these things. It's important that you set that expectation, that level of understanding as you prepare yourself for him or her. Learn the characteristics of a healthy relationship by being a healthy person. If you want to know the characteristics of a healthy relationship, read 1 Corinthians 13 and 4. I'm going to tell you right now, love is not perfect, but it fits for the two people that's involved. They make it work. Then and only then will you be able to detect an unhealthy potential mate. Once you are healthy, You will be able to detect an unhealthy potential mate. You would know you're not healthy emotionally, bro. I can't do this with you. Mentally, you unstable, bro. I can't do this with you. My girl, spiritually, you just like not where I am. This is not going to work. You'll be able to know who is not walking the same way you walking. You'll be able to pull that out real easy. We ain't on the same, we are not on the same path right now. We're not heading in the same direction. I'm not even going to try to get you over to my lane because I need you to already be on. That's what we need to stop doing as women. I'm going to talk to the women real quick because we have a tendency to do this. Don't meet a man that has some of the qualities and then you try to fix the rest of them to be like yours. Hey, leave that man where he at. Because the man that that's on the path that you're walking down is just further up the road. So don't worry about the man that you see from across the river that's on a whole different other path. And you're trying to figure out how to get him to cross the bank to get to your path because he has some of the characteristics and miss out on the whole man that's up ahead, that's on the same path as you and got those characteristics, but you just haven't got to where he is yet. Or you, man, haven't got to where she is yet. Just keep walking the path. Just keep staying the course. Keep staying the course. Don't bow. Keep staying the course. You're going to run into them eventually. Because what you don't want to do is get caught up with someone who fit the bill of what you used to date, but they're not who you are seeking now. See, that's temptation. It will try to call back those things that once was. But you have to be like, no, that's not where I'm at today. That's called evolution to healthy dating from trauma dating. I found that interesting because one day I had that situation come up where I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, look, I feel like as I've been dating, true statement, as I'm dating, it's like I'm turning down men every other week. Like I get to know you and in about a week's time, nope. And then the next person I talk to in a couple of days, nope. Like what in the world? Like what is happening? And now I'm like, is there any good caliber? Like what's happening with the caliber of men? You know what I'm saying? Like why is it that, or is it still me? Like something's still me again? Like what is going on? And she made it clear as day to me. She said, look at here. That means you have grown up. Because those red flags or that person that you would have tried to mold to make right for you, you now see them. Before, you would have continued dating them and been in an unhealthy relationship for months or for years, unhappy. But now you can't help but to see it. And the healthy you will not allow you to align with an unhealthy person. And not saying that these guys were just even unhealthy. Just we weren't compatible. They weren't what I was looking for. They didn't cross my path. They weren't where I wanted to be. They may have had certain qualities and characteristics, but it just wasn't a fit. And that's okay. You can have the qualities and characteristics I'm looking for, but it just not be. Still, it just not a fit. But the healthy me can identify that now. Instead of holding on to whoever crosses my path because, oh my goodness, let me hurry up and snatch this up because, no, it's okay. And then she said something that I definitely agree with. She said, now I'm more concerned about my peace than I am about my relationship status. Now that will bless you if you just let it register and resonate right there. Being more concerned about your peace than your relationship status. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm still actively dating. I still, desire, marriage and to be with someone. And I know all of that, is yet coming and yet happening. But I will not sacrifice my peace in exchange for a relationship. Because as far as I'm concerned, my relationship should be a place of peace and not strife. So if you're going to bring strife into my life, I'm good. Discord into my life, I'm good. If I have to settle, I'm good. Because I've come too far on my roadmap to go backwards to a place of accepting whatever just so that I can have. Lies you tell. And I need y'all to get into that. Some people are just staying with people because they're hoping, or they're just like, well, we've been together this long. Yeah, my peace has been compromised, but eventually. Really? Because one thing you have to remember, change will only come to a person that wants to change, not because you're asking them to change. You can ask a person to change all day, but if they don't want to, if it's not something they want to do, it's not going to happen, baby. So finally, after you deal with getting to know what your expectations should be, right? Expectations of yourself. After expectations of who you are, being what you want to see, getting to that ready place, right? Setting the own bar for yourself. Now it's time to set boundaries in the bar for other people. But be flexible and stand firm at the same time. Know that it's not contradictory. You can't set tight boundaries and tight expectations, because that's not, you don't be tight now. Don't be ridiculous. But the ones you do set, be firm on them. Now, setting boundaries, that's hard to do when we've never had them. But it's necessary. It's important. Boundaries are like levees. A levee is a structure or embankment that are along shorelines or a large body of water that help prevent the overflow of that water into the area. Its purpose is to alleviate potential damage due to overflowing of a potentially dangerous uprising. Boundaries, when set in place, will prevent potential damage to you on a mental, emotional, spiritual, and or romantic and physical level. I'm going to say it again. When you set a boundary, it will prevent potential damage from people trying to come into your life and wreak havoc. For people trying to come into a situation, come into an area and cause destruction. Cause you to be burnt out because you're always giving and doing, and there's no boundary of no set in place. Your peace is being robbed because there's no boundary set in place. And see, these people, they'll be like, oh, you act like, man, if you really, you know I can't. Oh, well, but I need boundary. The boundaries are necessary for your peace, to protect you from being burnt out, and it empowers them. Because at the end of the day, that ain't nothing but gaslighting. You know how to do this without me, because if I wasn't here doing this, you would be figuring it out. Don't let them mentally abuse you with mind games. Set the boundaries. Because the people who don't want you to set them are just afraid that they're not going to be able to come in and continue causing damage in your life. But that doesn't matter. It's either you or them. The boundaries have to be set, or you will end up looking like New Orleans post-Katrina, in complete disarray, and no one coming to rescue you or help you restore. Do you want that? We all remember how devastating that was. How long it took for somebody to even come and say, we will help. The money that didn't even come in like it was supposed to, but had to come in through other avenues. Sometimes you will find that the people that try to come into your life to help you restore the things that you do, the coping skills, the healing process, you will realize that it comes from an unorthodox place that you wasn't even expecting it to come from, but it will hurt your feelings because it didn't come from the very people that you expected it for it to come from. It will hurt you. It will crush you. The fact that New Orleans couldn't even confide and look to the government, the people, the United States, governmental places, and emergency fund and help to come in and help, that it took regular common people and celebrities to be like, look, we got y'all. A place that you didn't even foresee being your area of restoration. It will be just like that. It will be just like that while you're the very thing that's supposed to help, you won't even be there. So make sure your boundaries are intact. Make sure your boundaries are in place. You don't want that. Do not budge. So here are some instances of maybe where you need to set boundaries. If you don't want to have sex before marriage, establish that in the beginning and don't budge, because someone's going to be on one accord with you. If you don't want to live together prior to being married, don't budge. If you are preparing yourself as a wife or a husband, stop sleeping with your old flame. How are you preparing for your new boo? By continuing the soul tie of the old one. You got to cut those ties if you're expecting something else, if you're preparing for something else. You will not be ready to receive what's coming because you're still connected to what's behind you. Here's the interesting thing. This part of the Bible, it made me say, okay, Jesus, what are you talking to me? All right, I'm just gonna look. I'm trying to tell you, I try to be transparent and be real. That's the only way to help the people. In John 4, 16 through 18, Jesus went to the well. He went to the city and he met this woman at the well, a Samaritan woman. She was there getting water. And this is when he spoke about you can keep drinking this water and it will always run out. It won't satisfy you, but you can drink from a well where the water will never run dry. And he was talking about himself. He was talking about drinking from him, receiving him, and he will never run out with you. You will always have what you need. Cup runneth over, right? And in that conversation, he was like, go get your husband. And she goes, I don't got no husband. I ain't got no husband, Jesus. And he go, I know. I always say Jesus can be shady sometimes. He knew she didn't have no husband. He know that. He was calling something to the forefront because he was trying to deliver a message. He said, I know what you say is true. You don't have no husband. You've had 5, and even the one that you with now ain't even yours. And all she can say is, yeah. And why do I reference that in this boundary setting state? Because what we fail to realize is that when we have soul ties with people, we have either connected with them on a very deep level where we literally they're in our spirit and our soul has united with them, or mainly we've had sex with them. And sex is usually how two become one because they consummate their marriage with a sexual interaction and they become one. It's important to understand that when you are now preparing yourself for your mate, you are preparing yourself for that one that you really want to be with, that serious relationship, that potential spouse, that you cut those soul ties with those other people that you were used to dealing with and having in your having a relationship with. You don't want to be like the woman at the well who is involved with various people, but yet desiring a mate. Make it make sense. You're basically, because at the end of the day, what God has brought together, let no man put asunder. So when you come before the throne to say, I want to marry this person, I do. Okay, now we're married. You're coming before God saying, this is who I present as who I want to be my wife. This is who I present as I want to be my husband. And now let's have our nuptials, right? You have to let God know that you're available. But if you're continuing dipping and slipping and having these various people that you're in relation with, or relationship with, or whatever with, what they call a situationship, if you're going to keep on with your situationships, then you're presenting yourself as unavailable. How can somebody else come in and have all the parts of you when you're still giving parts of yourself to someone else? That's called preparation. You have to cut that off. You have to end that. You have to bring it to a close. He can't send you something you're not ready to receive. That sometimes is an ouch, right? It's an ouch for me. I had to come to that realization. And some of us that are listening has to come to that realization. You're not ready to receive. You're not presenting yourself as available when you're still sewing into your soul tie with your connections. That's like desiring to lose weight after eating a whole pound cake while planning to go to Dairy Queen later for some ice cream. You can't desire one thing while you're still doing the other thing. That doesn't add up. So that boundary has to be set. Tell old flames, no, goodbye. Shut off, shut down. I'm not going to keep entertaining this and intertwining and engaging. Block if you have to. Remove numbers out your phone if you have to. Come off of certain sites if you have to. Deny those late night hookups. Stay away from the pot if you are positioning yourself for better. Okay? Stay away from it. Do not wave and allow them to push on your boundaries. No is no. It is what it is. And that's for any boundaries that you set of any kind of magnitude. Those are just usually the ones that people struggle with. Now, expectations, they're the same as boundaries. Don't wave on them. But don't set unrealistic expectations either, because Jesus, he ain't available for dating. And that's the only perfection you're going to get. Okay, so do not set any unrealistic expectations. I did say don't be a nickel out here looking for a dime. So make sure that whatever you're expecting, you can meet those expectations as well. We already covered that in the first part, right? Where I said, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? Notice how in every one of these things I dealt with you first, because that's the only person that you can control is you. You got to deal with what your roadmap, unpack your trauma, unpack your issues, love on yourself, figure out what you bring to the table, figure out what your needs are, figure out what you want, what you're looking for, set your boundaries, and now you can set the expectation of what you're looking for. But make sure that two can walk together, because they can't unless they agree. How can you decide to date someone who wants something different than you, in a different place than you, have different goals and family desires than you? Y'all can't walk together unless y'all agree on something, unless y'all have agreement, unless y'all on one accord in the areas that matter, the areas that count. You don't have to be on one accord in every. We like the same exact food. We have the same exact favorite color. We like the same exact TV show. You ain't gotta look now, but you do need to be on one accord with how you want to raise your family, your level and your area of faith, how you spend money and save money. You do need to be on one accord with how you're going to love each other and respect each other. Hello, somebody. Okay? How you're going to discipline your children and educate. You do need to be on one accord on those areas. Understand that. Understand that. Understand that when you're creating your expectations, you can't make an extensive list. You have to leave room for flexibility, and you can't expect for everything that you possess to be something that your mate possesses, because then what are they complementing? So your mate doesn't complete you, they complement you. So what are they complementing? Are they the calm to your fire? Are they a better organizer and you a little messy and need a little help? Are they better financially? But you ain't too far from it. You're not a 400 credit score and they sitting on 800. You're more like a 6, okay? Maybe 620, okay? You got enough to get you guys a house, okay? And that's okay, because you complement one another. Because where you are a little, and they got a little bit more, it can be the flip reverse. Do not get with somebody. Do not look for somebody who you compliment everything and they don't compliment nothing for you, because that's still looking for love in all the wrong places. That's not being equally yoked. That's lowering your standards so that they can apply for the job. It doesn't matter how long it takes for the right applicant to get the position. You cannot lower your standards for the job. You cannot require a master level type of entry to the job position and then it's been so long since anybody applied to the job. Maybe I'll lower it to a high school diploma. Now you're going to have a lot of people applying for the job. And none of them is going to be able to sustain that job for a long length of time, because the standards of that job never came down. It's just the requirements. In order for you to lower the standards of what you require, and not end up in a relationship that still doesn't serve you, you have to lower your own standards of yourself, because balance has to still happen in that relationship. You still have to be on the same playing field. You still have to be equally yoked in some kind of way, or it's not going to work. You're going to feel something not right. So if you're not willing to lower your own standards, don't lower your standards for your mate. Don't do it. So as you can understand, when I say equally yoked, I'm not just talking about spiritually, although sometimes that's where people will want to keep it at, right? You don't want somebody who doesn't believe in God and you do. You don't want somebody who doesn't understand that you believe in the power of prayer and they don't get it. You don't. That's already a recipe for disaster. But what you also don't want is for you to have career goals and they don't even want to work. For you to love to travel, and not only are they afraid to fly and to fear of a body of water, but they also can't even get a passport because they got legal things tied up that they just can't get past, or it costs too much money sitting on top of it, and so they can't get. For some people that ain't gonna be an issue, but for some who traveling is everything, that's something to think about. Can you even get it? You don't have a passport right now? All right, cool. Can you get one? That's the question. Because it's already stifling you, and you can't even do the things that you love to do anymore already. And saying we can be together, I'll just go separately. You're already opening a pinhole for your marriage to start having issues by saying I'll just travel and vacation separate since you can't go. You're already planning for the destruction. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So understand what your expectations are. Be equally yoked on all playing fields. Know what they're bringing to the table. Know what you're offering to this table. Make sure that what you're seeking is equally yoked expectations of a healthy relationship versus a Christmas list of the latest trend. Ladies and gentlemen, Lord have mercy. This show, this episode, this topic right here feels like a whole therapy session. I'm not going to lie to you. Felt like a whole therapy session for me. But yet and still, I hope that you guys were able to listen and really take heart to the things that I've said about what causes us to look for love in all the wrong places, and then how to stop looking for love in all the wrong places. This episode, coupled with the healing episode from last week, I hope those two together kind of shine some light on what roadmaps you have used throughout time to get you to certain areas of dating, how to divert and get on a new path, how to wait patiently, how to embrace where you are, how to love on yourself, how to prepare yourself, how to plan for what you are trying to get and what you seek after. And that at the end of the day, you end up understanding what a healthy relationship looks like, whether it's with a romantic partner or with a friend or even with a family member, what it looks like, what it entails, and how to have one, so that you can birth healthy relationships moving forward. That's what I want for you guys. That's what I hope this does for you. I hope that you start looking for peace, wholeness, and healthy relationships. So on that note, we're going to end it right here. And remember, love yourself, baby, or nobody else will. Please be advised, although Rhonda Dior is a licensed professional therapist, neither she nor this show serves as a substitute for receiving private therapeutic services. For more information about services, please visit www.diormovement.com. That's www.diormvmt.com.